is Pippi Lotta, and you know, make an educated guess. I am Mr. Nielsen.
She's my monkey.
Yes, my whole life I have been her little monkey. Ladies, I'm so happy to be here. I couldn't come to USA for 2 years, and I'm so happy to see you all again. And I want to... Pippi Longstocking had a huge impact on my childhood. Who read the book? Who knows it? Yeah. She gave me an idea that little girls can have self-confidence and they can be cheeky and cute and everything together. So, when I sent last year my presentation as a movie and video, I thought, oh, that's pretty good. It's so relaxing. I don't have to make a free speech. I just push the button and presentation is working. So enjoy my presentation about Pippi Longstocking.
Pippi Lotta, Victualia, Gardina, Peppermint, Ibrahim's daughter Longstocking. And today I'm going to tell you a story about me and the wonderful Astrid Lindgren, who thought me up and brought me to life. Astrid Lindgren is one of the most famous children's book authors in the world. She wrote 34 original children books and novels, which have been translated in more than 100 languages, and she received numerous literary awards. Children all over the world read and love her books. Astrid was born in Sweden in November 1907. As the second child of Samuel August and Hannah Eriksson. She grew up on her parents' small farm in Småland, Vimmerby, with her 3 siblings, Ingrid, Stina, and Gunnar.
It was a very happy childhood, secure in the love of parents and with intense games with the 3 siblings and many other children who lived on the farm. We had 2 things that made our childhood what it was: security and freedom. It felt safe having those 2 who cared so much for each other and who were always there should we need them, but who otherwise let us roam free and happily discover the fantastic playground we had on the farm of our childhood.
It was this happy childhood and her free spirit that was later reflected in all her children's books and countless stories. There is the cheeky Emil from Lönneberger, who lives with his family on the Katult farm and always gets into trouble with his pranks and mischief. In Germany, Emil was renamed Michel to avoid confusion with the already existing book Emil and the Detectives by Erich Kästner. The stories of Emil from Lönneberger were published from 1963 onward and filmed in the early 70s. Here you can see Astrid, who met the adorable child actors of Emil and his sister Little Ida. There is the intrepid, courageous and always lovable Ronja, the robber's daughter, who fought for justice, peace and friendship.
On the night that Ronja was born, a thunderstorm was raging over the mountains. Such a storm that all the goblin folk in Mutt's forest crept back in terror to their holes and hiding places. Only the fierce harpies preferred stormy weather to any other and flew, shrieking and hooting around the robbers' stronghold on Mutt's mountain.
The book Ronja Robbery's Daughter was published in 1981 and was filmed in 1984. There's Marty, who got a whole lot of preposterous ideas and never thinks before she does things, not until afterwards. Unlike many of Astrid Lindgren's other main characters, Marty does not come from a farmer's family, but from a bourgeois family. The model for Madita, the German name, was Astrid's friend Annemarie Ingestern, the daughter of the bank director of Wimmerby. The first short story of Madita appeared in 1954 and was filmed in 1979. And again, Astrid met the child actor of Madita and her little sister, Lisabeth. And there are the two brothers, Lionheart, in a heartbreaking story that gives courage and comfort to children when they have lost a loved one, because they go to the land of Nangiala, a place where fairy tales happen. Astrid Lindgren was one of the first children's book authors to deal with the subject of children's death and dying. She was awarded international literary prizes for her sensitive way of dealing with the subject. The timeless story about the fight between good and evil, about courage and fear, love and death, appeared in 1973 and was made into a film in 1978. But most of Astrid's books are about happy children who have lots of little adventures in their little perfect world. Just like the children of Nosy Village, who climb the barn roofs, jump in the mud, build a playhouse, and dance around the bonfire. The first book of the Children of Bullerbü was published in 1947 and was filmed in 1960. Astrid's carefree childhood ended abruptly when she became pregnant in 1926 at the age of 18. Her strictly Catholic parents could not bear the shame that their own daughter should give birth unmarried and would not accept her illegitimate child. Astrid had to leave the farm. She moved to Stockholm, where she acquired qualification as a secretary. Astrid gave birth to her son Lasse, secretly in Denmark, and had to leave him in care there for 3 years until she could finally bring him to live with her. This 3 hard years in poverty, loneliness, and everlasting longing for her son made Astrid a strong and independent woman and shaped her throughout her life. And all her life she fought for the rights of children and women.
There is very little you can beat into a child, but no limits to what you can hack out of it.
An unbroken and consistent thread runs through Astrid Lindgren's entire work and life. The fight for every child's right to love and safety. This position permeates through more or less her entire output. When Astrid was awarded the German Booksellers' Peace Prize in 1978, she turned her acceptance speech into an urgent call for never violence. Astrid Lindgren died in January 2002 at the age of 94. But her characters from her books will live forever and continue to make generations of children laugh. The first Pippi Longstocking book was published in 1944. And it was a sensation. That was new in children's literature. This girl, Pippi Longstocking, was superhumanly strong, independent, rich, and incredibly self-confident. Cheeky and wild girls had never been shown like this before. With her mismatched stocking, carrot-colored hair, and freckly face, Pippi Longstocking has become a cultural icon. Together with her horse, Little Uncle, and her monkey, Mr. Nielsen, she lived in Villekulla Cottage. Pippi has her very own philosophy. I have never tried that before, so I think I should definitely be able to do that. No wonder then that she experiences the most adventurous stories together with her friends Tommy and Annika. Tommy and Annika are very different from Pippi. They represent average, Swedish, well-behaved children from the neighborhood who befriend Pippi. And soon, Pippi turns everything upside down. Everything with Pippi was unusual. Pippi, Annika, and Tommy travel the world using the strangest vehicles for transportation. No day with Pippi was boring. In 1941, it was quite different. Namely, when Astrid's daughter Karen was ill and had to stay in bed, and she was terribly bored. Mommy, it is so boring. Please tell me a story.
And about what?
Tell me about Pippi Longstocking. And with such an unusual name that came out of thin air, the same moment Astrid made up a story about this unusual girl. And she began.
Zweimal drei macht vier, bitte, 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 und drei macht neune. Ich mach mir die Welt, bitte, bitte, wie sie mir gefällt. Hey, Pippi Langstrumpf, tjalali, tjalai, tjala, hopsasa. Hey, Pippi Langstrumpf, die macht, was ihr gefällt.
And in the house lived Pippi Longstocking. She was 9 years old and she lived there all alone. She had no mother and no father, and that was of course very nice because there was no one to tell her to go to bed, just when she was having the most fun. No one who could make her take cod liver oil when she much preferred caramel candy. Once upon a time, Pippi had a father of whom she was extremely fond. Naturally, she had had a mother too, but that was so long ago that Pippi didn't remember her at all. Her mother had died when Pippi was just a tiny baby and lay in a cradle and hauled so that nobody could go anywhere near her. Pippi was sure that her mother was now up in heaven, watching her little girl through a peephole in the sky, and Pippi often waved up at her and called, "Don't you worry about me."
I always come out on top.
Pippi had not forgotten her father. He was a sea captain who sailed on the great ocean, and Pippi had sailed with him in his ship until one day her father was blown overboard in a storm and disappeared. But Pippi was absolutely certain that he would come back. She would never believe that he had drowned. She was sure he had floated until he landed on an island inhabited by cannibals. And she thought he had become the king of all the cannibals and went around with a golden crown on his head all day long. My papa is a cannibal king. It certainly isn't every child who has such a stylish papa, huh? Pippi used to say with satisfaction. And as soon as many, Papa has built himself a boat, he will come and get me. And I'll be a cannibal princess. Hey ho, won't that be exciting? Her father had bought the old house in the garden many years ago. He thought he would live there with Pippi when he grew old and couldn't sail the seas any longer. And then this annoying thing had to happen, that he was blown into the ocean, and while Pippi was waiting for him to come back, she went straight home to Villa Vilicula. That was the name of the house. It stood there ready and waiting for her. One lovely summer evening she had said goodbye to all the sailors on her father's boat. They were all fond of Pippi and she of them. "So long, boys," she said, and kissed each one on the forehead. "Don't you worry about me."
I always come out on top.
Two things she took with her from the ship. A little monkey whose name was Mr. Nielsen. He was a present from her father, and a big suitcase full of gold pieces.
Was very heavy.
The sailors stood upon the deck and watched as long as they could see her. She walked straight ahead without looking back at all, with Mr. Nielsen on her shoulder and her suitcase in her hand. "A remarkable child," said one of the sailors as Pippi disappeared in the distance. He was right. Pippi was indeed a remarkable child. The most remarkable thing about her was that she was so strong. She was so very strong that in the whole wide world there was not a single police officer as strong as she. Why? She could lift a whole horse if she wanted to. And she wanted to. She had a horse of her own that she had bought with one of her many gold pieces the day she came home to Villa Vilicula. She had always longed for a horse, and now here he was, living on the porch. When Pippi wanted to drink her afternoon coffee there, she simply lifted him down into the garden. Beside Villa Vilicula was another garden and another house. In that house lived a father and mother and two charming children, a boy and a girl. The boy's name was Tommy and the girl's Annika. They were good, well brought up and obedient children. Obedient? Tommy would never think of biting his nails, and he always did exactly what his mother told him to do. Annika never fussed when she didn't get her own way. She always looked pretty in her little well-ironed cotton dresses. She took the greatest care not to get them dirty. Tommy and Annika played nicely with each other in their garden, but they had often wished for a playmate. While Pippi was still sailing on the ocean with her father, they often used to hang over the fence and say to each other, "Oh, isn't it silly that nobody ever moves into that house? Somebody ought to live there, somebody with children." On that lovely summer evening, when Pippi for the first time stepped over the threshold of Villa Villicula, Tommy and Annika were not at home. They had gone to visit their grandmother for a week, and so they had no idea that anybody had moved into the house next door. On the first day, after they came home again, they stood by the gate, looking out onto the street, and even then they didn't know that there actually was a playmate so near. Just as they were standing there considering what they should do and wondering whether anything exciting was likely to happen or whether it was going to be one of those dull days when they couldn't think of anything to play. Just then, the gate of Villa Villicula opened and a little girl stepped out. She was the most remarkable girl Tommy and Annika had ever seen. She was Miss Pippi Longstocking, out for her morning promenade. This is the way she looked. Her hair, the color of a carrot, was braided to two tight braids that stuck straight out. Her nose was the shape of a very small potato and was dotted all over with freckles. It must be admitted that the mouse under this nose was a very wide one with strong white teeth. Her dress was rather unusual. Pippi herself had made it. She had meant it to be blue, but there wasn't quite enough blue cloth, so Pippi had sewed little red pieces on it and here and there. On her long, thin legs, she wore a pair of long stockings. One dotted and the other one with white and red stripes.
Alright, we are waiting the official go-ahead to open our Boneka event dolls. Annika from the Story of Pippi Longstocking, and we've got the Pippi centerpieces, and Annika is our event doll. This is a sculpt and dressed by, designed and dressed by Boneka Tradition.
Yeah. So usually Billy asked me to count down in German. So 3, 2, 1, open.
Alright. We got gold ties. Come on, open. I'm struggling with this one. You can hear the clapping already. And they have that new doll smell. I love the way these dolls smell when you unwrap them. They smell so nice.
No, when I the first
Look how cute she is. She's got
I realized, Claudia, you're in trouble.
her little monkey on her shirt.
I put this headband on her head, and she looked so cute, and these were the pictures, the official pictures I sent to Karen, and then I realized I have to make 45 headbands. So they are all hand sewn by me. They are not perfect, but I thought she looked so cute with that. That's so typical the 1970s, how we looked like. Yeah.
She's got her monkey on her shirt, two little buttons in the back, a little pink skirt, it's a skirt, and then she's got these yellow sneakers, super cute. They're going to draw for services, so we'll see you guys later.
Come on up here.
I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons from Patreon: Lindsay S., Leah W., Doreen Z., Janice H., Mercedes W., Cindy K., Bear Sunflower, Diane B., Kelly L., Cindy L., Krista R., Victory Ron, Shorna R., Shira Star Hobby, Stephanie W., Jessica S., Ray M., Asia C., Shalane C., and Penny P. Your support means so much to me and helps me continue bringing you great Dolly content. For more information on how you can become a supporter of this channel, please see the link in the video description. Thanks for watching!